And our next director, Monsignor Wegner, took over. And poor Father Wegner got the shock of his life, because before Father Flanagan had passed away, he had began a building project just before World War II. He bought about 1,000 acres around the village of Boys Town, took out contracts to build about 100 structures, huge structures, to house all the boys. And we were over $15 million at that point in 1948 when Monsignor Wegner took over. So he is faced with the prospect of either shutting down part of the program, selling some of the property. He decided to go forward and finish the building project that Father Flanagan had envisioned. And by 1950, we had over 900 boys in residence at Boys Town. And the new structures they moved into were all designed for at-risk youth. It was one of the first building projects of its type in America. Indira Gandhi came from India, the King of Greece. We still have people coming from around the world to visit the village and duplicate the program based on these buildings Father Flanagan designed for the children. They had their own fire department created, they had their own hospital, did everything up to major surgery, and they had their own banking system here in the village too, so boys could learn how to keep their own checking and banking account. And our agricultural program produced 90% of our food back at that time too. We had a huge agricultural program. And then Father Flanagan began to expand the trades program, and Monsignor Wegner completed that project back in the 1950s. Father Flanagan believed every boy should learn how to have a trade. And in the 1950s, with the new construction program that was completed, there were about 13 trades here in the village of Boys Town. Boys could come and begin at carpentry or barbering, and the average stay is about 5 to 8 years. So when a boy left Boys Town, he could go right out and start his own job or create his own business, all based on the skills he learned here at Boys Town. And that was very important to the boys, that they have something to keep them busy and something positive. And that's why they developed programs here at Boys Town. They had scouting programs, they had plays, they had yearbooks. Just like any normal high school, the boys had all different opportunities. They had bands, they had choirs, they had string quartets. They bring girls out from the city of Omaha and have dances. They did everything you can imagine to keep 950 boys busy in a positive manner. And one of our boys went on and was a Fulbright scholar and studied in Germany, and he represents our boys and who went on to different universities and colleges across the United States and around the world and to further their education. And then we have other scenes how the boys lived here in the village of Boys Town, a picture of the dining hall, of the Hall of History, what it looked like when it was a dining hall, and the dormitories, how the boys lived. And then our next section we'll look at will be the sports programs at Boys Town and how they impacted the lives of the children here at Boys Town. Back in the 1930s, Father Flanagan began our sports programs here at Boys Town. And he ran into some trouble because local schools didn't want to play him because we had mixed-race teams. So he began to take our teams across the country. They go to Detroit, Pittsburgh. 50,000 people turn out for the football games back at that time. Finally, in the 1960s, the Nebraska leagues finally allowed us to join. And at that time, our students won every championship in every sport you can imagine. And at our field house, there's a trophy case, the length of the Hall of History, filled with hundreds of trophies now the boys and girls have won over the decades. And to travel across the United States, the boys would use this bus. And we were creating the Hall of History. We wanted to have this bus on display. So we had our students cut it in two for us, renovate the interior, and we have video on our sports history. For many years, our Boys Town choir would go on national and international tours. They went to Japan, they went to Cuba, Canada. They're on the Ed Sullivan Show, they were at Carnegie Hall. And the choir recorded many albums, one of them with the Everly Brothers. And when Father Flanagan designed our music hall here in the village of Boys Town, he actually put a recording studio there so the children could record their albums right here in the village of Boys Town. And we still have a choir today. It's called Voices, and they travel across the city of Omaha and go to special sporting events to sing the national anthem to carry on the tradition of having a musical program here at Boys Town for our Boys Town students.